Mr. Anderson Podcast.
My podcast show, Mr. Anderson Podcast, on all platforms: Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeart. Tap me in, listen to me, get at me. Mr. Anderson TV News. Mr. Anderson CEO313 on Instagram. I design coats, jackets. Just the jacket you see right here. I do body oils, air fresh, homemade candles, and I'm
AI jackets out now.
Michael Tyler, or Mystical as he's known to fans, and his two bodyguards pled guilty to charges of sexual battery.
To my baby and my little babies, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry that things went the way they went. I'm sorry I broke down the way I did. And I want you to know that I'm sorry. I regret that. And
rapper Mystical is like a magnet for legal trouble. He's back in the headlines again for allegedly sexually assaulting a woman.
Police records show Mystical allegedly attacked the female victim by taking her keys, holding her against her will, throwing alcohol on her to cleanse her, quote, bad spirits, and then sexually assaulted her.
Michael Lawrence Tyler was born on September 22, 1970s, in New Orleans, Louisiana's 12th ward. He grew up with his mom, older sister Michelle, and younger brother Maurice. His father, who ran a small neighborhood store, died due to blood clot complications when Tyler was only 7 years old. Despite growing up in a single-parent household, he and his siblings were always showered with love and affection by their mother, Marie Tyler. She kept them away from crime and always encouraged them to excel in school and attend church. Although Mystical grew up around poverty, he never felt poor. He said, "I was around poverty and everything, but my mom kept all that away from me. She didn't let me know how poor we were. I never did feel that." He attended Cohen High School, and although he had been rapping as a casual hobby for a long time, here is where Mystical learned about the competence one needs to rap. One day he got challenged by a more competitive rapper in the hallway. When the other students showed him up, Mystical realized that an important element to art of rapping, in addition to knowing how to tell a story, included knowing how to boast for attention. Soon, Mystical began overwhelming the other MCs in his neighborhood with his rhymes. Despite his lyrical talent, Mystical first earned a name for himself around New Orleans, not for rapping, but for breakdancing with a group called the Converse Crew. This eventually led up him linking up with Beats by the Pound producer KLC. When the popularity of dancing started to fade, Mystical fully dived into rapping. In New Orleans, KLC stood at the forefront of rap as a producer and DJ for a local group called 39 Posse. He recognized Mystical's unique style and brought him to the studio to produce and record his early demo tapes. However, after graduating from high school, he was tired of education but still wanted to do something productive. His rap career wasn't taking off, so he decided to enlist in the United States Army. During his time with the military, he served in the Gulf War as a combat engineer and kept up with the New Orleans rap scene by visiting his home whenever possible. Around this time, when Mystical left for the military, KLC with his boys 39 Posse released an album called 39 Automatic. When he found out about it, he said this was what made him start pursuing a career as a rapper. When he completed his service in the army, Mystical returned to New Orleans with a new mission. To sustain his dream, he worked at a couple of different places, including working as a security guard at the shopping center. He knew that if somebody could help him turn his hobby into a career, it was KLC. He immediately called upon him for help, and despite already being busy working with several other hip-hop acts, he welcomed Mystical back. Kelsey promised to produce an album for him, but before, he had to finish his work with 39 Posse and Magnolia Slim, now known as Soulja Slim. This would have been huge for Mystikal, but the story played out a little bit differently. While awaiting his turn to work with KLC, he was invited to open up an outdoor concert for Run DMC and Dougie E. Fresh at the Treme Center. While being on stage with this type of caliber stars is already a big deal, what Mystikal didn't know before the event was that Leroy Precise Edwards, the house producer and one of the executives for Big Boy Records, was in the audience. Mystikal performed a song called I'm Not That N-Word alongside his sister, who sang the background vocals. Remember the song name for later. Precise was blown away by Mystikal's and his sister's performance, granting both of them a contract right after the show. Big Boy Records, also known as Bootcamp Click, was an independent record label established in 1992. At the time, before No Limit and Cash Money Records, this was the biggest record label from New Orleans. Before signing with No Limit, Fiend, who we briefly touched on in the previous video, was one of the Big Boy artists. This is where he and Mystikal started developing their relationship. After the deal, Mystikal started working on his debut album. This was his time to shine, and on June 14, 1994, he released his debut, naming it Mystikal. After so much struggle, he finally managed to not only ink in a deal with a label, but also release a full-blown album. Unfortunately, he didn't have a chance to celebrate his debut for long, because only 3 months later, a tragedy changed his life forever. On September 22, 1994, on his 24th birthday, Mystikal found his sister, Michelle Tyler, dead in her bedroom. She was stabbed and strangled to death. Michelle was also wearing a promotional t-shirt for I'm Not That N-Word, the song we just talked about. Her boyfriend at the time, Damian Neville, grandson of one of the Neville brothers, got arrested and charged for the murder. He initially confessed to killing her, but later claimed that police beat him into a confession and recanted his testimony. At trial, his attorney suggested that drug dealers to whom Neville was in debt committed the crime, and the jury bought it. Due to recanted testimony and lack of evidence, Damian Neville was found not guilty. According to Mystikal, he never doubted that Damian was the one who killed her, and although the jury found him not guilty, unfortunately, there was nothing he could do. As he mentioned in a Vlad TV interview, his family had a lot of influence, and we were nobodies at the time. What makes this murder even more horrific is that poor Michelle was killed while her relatives were still at home. It's hard to imagine the pain that he felt during this time. Losing your sibling is one of the worst things that could happen to anybody, and especially knowing that they were murdered in such a brutal way. He stated that it took him about 7 to 8 years to finally celebrate his birthday, just as his birthday, and not the day that his sister was killed. On his next album, the closing song was called Dedicated to Michelle Tyler, a spoken word tribute to his sister. Years later, Mystikal called Damian's family and forgave them for the accident. Rest in peace, Michelle Tyler. After his sister's death, Mystikal understood that there's nothing he could do, and decided to put all of his emotions into music. The album Mystikal, which was released before his sister's death, was one of the Big Boy's most successful albums, and gained major success for Mystikal. Local audiences did take a notice of Mystikal, and their support helped land him a distribution deal with New York's Jive Records. They reissued his debut, plus a few extra tracks, as The Mind of Mystikal in October of 1995. The album sold more than 500,000 copies and earned radio play nationwide. The album was later certified gold. He found himself involved in conflict with fellow New Orleans rappers UNLV and the Bee Gees. They dissed Mystikal on tracks Drag 'Em in the River by UNLV and F Big Boy by the Bee Gees. Mystikal took this opportunity to show what he was made of and responded with tracks Beware and Here I Go, both of which were solid diss tracks. This was the time where No Limit and Cash Money started to emerge as two biggest record labels in New Orleans, leaving Big Boy Records in the dust. With the downfall of Big Boy and escalating rivalry between the two labels, Mystikal understood that he had to choose a side. He already had bad blood with Cash Money artists after disses back and forth, so in 1996, he signed with Master P's No Limit. Master P and Mystikal, besides rap music, had another connection. P had also lost a sibling, his younger brother Kevin, who died in a drug-related murder. The first album Mystikal released on No Limit Records was Unpredictable, in which Master P encouraged him to explore his feelings surrounding the tragedy. The album was released in 1997, and it once again contained a tribute to his sister called Shine, and a song addressed to Damian Neville called Murderer 2. The album was once again a huge success. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200s spawned 2 singles, Ain't No Limit and The Man Right Chair, and eventually was certified platinum. This album marked Snoop Dogg's first appearance on a No Limit Records album and was a crucial detail in his signing with the label, a story I documented in a previous video. When No Limit saw how successful the album was, they wanted Mystical everywhere. He started doing features and collaborations with other label mates on their projects and singles, while at the same time working on his follow-up album. The list is too long to name all of them, but I want to mention that one of the songs that they featured around this time was with RBL Posse and Big Lurch, the guy who ate his roommate and whose story we documented previously. Mystical must have been living in the studio for the amount of music he worked on throughout 1997 and 1998. On December 15, 1998, he also released his follow-up album called Ghetto Fabulous. Remember KLC? The guy who was the first one to work on his demo tapes back when Mystical was in high school? He was one of the Beats by the Pound producers, which produced this album and many records for No Limit. It reached number 5 on Billboard 200s and sold 365,000 copies in its first week alone. The album had a couple of outstanding features outside the label, including Busta Rhymes, Naughty by Nature, and even Charlie Wilson. Not even a year later, the album was also certified platinum. In 1999, he even worked alongside Mariah Carey on a song called Did I Do That? Outkast, and was ending the 90s strong with countless features and being absolutely everywhere. While Mystical was crushing the rap game for the past couple of years, 1999 wasn't such a nice period for everyone. No Limit's downfall was starting to become more and more prominent. A lot of artists started leaving No Limit. One of them was Beats by the Pound. They were a collective of producers which produced the majority of beats and songs for multiple No Limit soldiers. They left No Limit due to a dispute with Master P. Mystical saw this as a red flag, and in the 2000s, he also left No Limit. After ending on such a high note in the 90s, Mystical wanted to crush the 2000s even more. He released his 4th album called Let's Get Ready, which catapulted him into the mainstream rap scene. The album reached number 1, and singles like Shake Your Ass and Danger became some of his biggest songs to date. Danger became the number 1 single of June 2001, which featured pop and R&B star Nivea. Shake Your Ass featured uncredited vocals from Pharrell and was produced by the Neptunes, a hit-making team duo consisting of Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo. The song not only got a lot of radio play and was broadcasted on MTV, but was also featured in multiple movies, including Scary Movie 2. Mystical didn't forget this man KLC, and the album is mostly produced by him and the Neptunes. Mystical's momentum was insane, and shortly thereafter, in 2001, he released another album called Tarantula. It was his 5th album, and once again, it was a huge success. Although it didn't reach the height of Let's Get Ready, it was certified gold, loved by fans and critics, and also received 2 Grammy nominations. The album was once again produced by the Neptunes, KLC, and even the man himself, Scott Storch. On top of that, we got a song with Juvenile, one of the legends from the rival Cash Money Records. After being rivals for years, fans eventually got an opportunity to hear both of them on one song. In the same year, he once again worked with Mariah Carey on a song called Don't Stop.
Man, when I found out that she wanted to do, wanted me to be on her song, on the soundtrack for a movie, it was really exciting to me. I was like, all right. It's the kind of stuff that I want to be doing right now.
Released a single with Joe called Stutter, which became a major hit in the US and was number 1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 for 4 weeks straight. In 2002, he was featured on the song Wizzy Wow by Blackstreet and on Ludacris' song Move Bitch. Mystical also started to appear in movies, landing himself the main role in a comedy movie, Making Baby.
Get your bad ass out of here.
Later appearing in movies like 13 Dead Men and the adult film Liquid City. To say that Mystical was huge would probably be an understatement. He was everywhere and everybody loved him. His career was at all-time high and nobody could have stopped him. It looked like there was no way for Mystical to stop, but once again, the unexpected happened. On July 18, 2002, Mystical was arrested. He and his 2 bodyguards, Versi Carter and Leland Ellis, were charged with aggravated sexual assault and extortion. Allegations against them were that they threatened to turn in his former hairstylist into police for cashing out $80,000 worth of unauthorized checks from the rapper's bank account if she did not have oral sex with them. According to the arrest warrant, Mystical ordered the woman to go into his bedroom and undress, then made her perform oral sex on him while he called his friends on the phone. She told the police she complied because she was afraid. She also told police that she was forced to have sexual intercourse with Carter and was forced to perform oral sex on Ellis while being videotaped. The next day, on July 19, police revealed that among the items detectives confiscated from Mystical's home was a videotape, which confirmed that the accused and two co-defendants had sexually assaulted the victim. This was not a good look for Mystical or his public image. During the trial, he got more attention from the public than ever, but unfortunately, it wasn't for his music. In Louisiana, aggravated sexual assault carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison. After numerous meetings with the state prosecutor, Mystical's lawyer, J. David Bowerland, was able to whittle the charges down to sexual battery in exchange for a guilty plea to dodge the potential life sentence. In December 2002, Mystical's lawyer filed a motion to withdraw his client's guilty plea to sexual battery and no contest to extortion when he learned that prosecutors had given Judge Marabella the videotape of the sexual assault. As a part of their negotiation, the prosecutor agreed that the tape would remain sealed and would not be admitted in the case as evidence. Both sides didn't want the tape to be played in the trial, but for completely different reasons. Judge did view the tape at the sentencing. In 2003, Mystical pleaded guilty to sexual battery and extortion and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. On top of 6 years, the judge also ruled that when Mystical gets out of jail, he will have to serve 5 years of probation for extortion, remain employed, undergo substance abuse evaluation, and follow all recommended treatment, remain alcohol and drug free, submit to random urinalysis at his own expense, maintain no contact with the victim and her family, and register as a sex offender. If he violated any of the terms of probation, Mystical would have had to return to prison for up to 10 more years. According to reports, a civil suit had also been filed and settled out of court. It is rumored that Mystical paid the woman $350,000. The bodyguards who took part in the assault also pleaded guilty. Versi Carter was sentenced to 4 years in jail, and Leland Ellis was sentenced to 3. Mystical started his prison sentence in 2004 and remained behind bars up until 2010. Mystical fully accepted the blame, but stated, "Did I make a horrible mistake? Was it stupid? Hell yeah. But did I do what they say I did? I can't do it like that, but I put myself in that position to make it look like that. So I've got to take my lick, because I wasn't acting like Albert Einstein, and I didn't go to jail for praying too loud in church." This was devastating for Mystical in his career. Once again, a story in which a guy who managed to overcome so many struggles and hardships in life loses everything that he worked on in a split second. His record label Jive wanted to profit off him for one last time. They released 2 compilation albums, Prince of the South, The Hits, and Chopped and Screwed. Apart from his most famous singles, they released one track called Pussy Pop. Sex charges are not something to make money off, and the song just seemed distasteful. While serving the sentence, more legal troubles followed. In 2005, the federal government charged him with not paying income tax on $1.7 million earned from 1998 to 1999. He once again pleaded guilty in 2006 and served his federal sentence concurrently with his state sentence. Unfortunately for him, he was eligible for parole in the same year, but due to new charges, his parole was declined. On January 14, 2010, Mystical was released from prison after serving the full 6 years of his sentence. Although he was finally a free man, his momentum was long gone. The first song that he released was I Don't Like You, alongside his longtime friend, No Limit label mate, Fiend. The song failed to make noise and eventually became an underground track. A few weeks later, R&B artist Lloyd released a song called Set Me Free featuring Mystical, which even had a music video. While it reached 87 in the US R&B chart, it once again failed to bring any attention to Mystical. The same year, in an interview, he stated that he was still obligated to Jive Records for one more album, and would be taking the necessary time to ensure the album would be his best to date. He made a promo song called Paper Cuts, featuring Fiend and Lil Wayne. Shortly thereafter, on November 16, 2011, Mystical signed with Cash Money Records. This was big news. After years of being rivals, Mystical officially became a part of Cash Money. He released the first single for the label, called Original, featuring Birdman and Lil Wayne. The single peaked at number 80 on the Hot R&B/Hip-Hop Songs chart. While it seemed like maybe Mystical had a chance of coming back to the music industry, it didn't take long before his comeback was put on pause. On February 22, 2012, Mystical was arrested again following a dispute with his girlfriend and was later given a misdemeanor charge for domestic abuse battery. He was detained for 9 days and then released on bail. On April 16, he was given given a 3-month jail sentence for violating the terms of his probation. He was given following his release from prison in January of 2010. He was given credit for the 9 days already served, reducing his confinement to 81 days. Mystical was released from jail in August 2012. He knew the buzz around his name was certainly long gone. For him to come back, he knew he had to work with bigger artists, and he started doing features with them. Mystical collaborated with T.I., Future, Lil Dicky, Tech 9, and more. The whole time, he was still signed with Cash Money, but only released one single titled Original in 2011, and that was it. Fans were waiting for an album from him, but in 2014, he left the label, citing it was due to their creative differences.
Politics, a lot of politics with me, yeah, because I don't really fit the mold of the situation I'm in.
Is that the Cash Money situation? Really? What? What do you mean you don't fit the mold?
Different, man. I'm different. I have to be able to be the artist that I am. If I can't do that, then it's not going to work for me.
Really?
That's one thing I always prided myself on, being different from anything out there, and that's what I am. And right now, music has a lot of similarities in it. That's my only gripe with music today. It has a lot of similarities. I don't want to sound like the next thing.
Unfortunately, his comeback was once again cut short because on August 21st, 2017, he turned himself into Louisiana Sheriff's Department after a warrant was issued for his arrest. He was once again charged with sexual assault charges.
51-year-old Michael Tyler, also known as Mystical, was arrested on multiple charges including first-degree rape and domestic abuse battery. Detectives interviewed a victim at a hospital who sustained injuries. The investigation led to Tyler being identified as a suspect.
He was held on $3 million bond until February 14, 2019, when he finally was able to post bond.
How's it feel?
It feels good. It feels good. Just grateful for this opportunity to get my life back. Get to being back that man that I was called to be. So it's on now.
This time, the sexual assault charges were dismissed due to lack of evidence. Although he was acquitted of charges, this still didn't fix his reputation. Only a couple of years later, on July 31st, 2022, Mystical was arrested in Louisiana yet again. This time he's facing the following charges: simple criminal damage to property, false imprisonment, domestic abuse, battery and strangulation, simple robbery, and first-degree sexual assault. If found guilty, Mystical is yet again facing life in prison. Mystical's life story is truly a heartbreaking one. From being nobody, trying to make it as an artist, and losing his sister at such a young age, to becoming one of the biggest rappers, selling millions of records, premiering in movies, doing features with the biggest musicians, to losing everything in a split second. The fall of Mystical is one of the biggest falls we yet documented, and while it is devastating what happened to him, the saddest part is that he was the one who chose this type of road for himself. As a young adult, he experienced a lot of trauma, but it shouldn't be used as an excuse to do these horrible crimes against women. Mystical had a lot of talent and made countless timeless classics over the years, but unfortunately, his poor decisions left him spending most of his years either in prison or chasing the fame and success he once had. Rest in peace, Michelle Tyler.